Very few junior middleweights who ever lived could get through 5 fights with those 4 fighters without a loss. Canelo Alvarez, though, is one of them. Yes, I'm well aware that Canelo Trout could have gone either way, and that at least as many people think Lara deserved the nod as believe Canelo did. And yes, Canelo was lucky to get a draw in his first fight with Triple G, and the second fight was also close. Truth is, he didn't beat Jacobs by all that much. So sure, he certainly seems to get the benefit of the doubt from the judges. Goldenboy. The deck is usually stacked in his favor. Canelo is the Goldenboy first. Thirdly, he's good looking, which plays to Madison Avenue. See his Under Armour endorsement deal. And with the red hair, he's got an unusual look. Canelo's tough and willing to show it, and is not apologizing for the fact that he has those kind of James Toney level skills to hit you more than you can hit him.
Max Kellerman praises Canelo Alvarez and compares his skill set to James Toney. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Now, Max Kellerman, boxing analyst and sports commentator, he has his own show directly on ESPN regarding boxing. On that show, they filmed a new segment, and he was, post Canelo Jacobs fight, he's praising Canelo, saying he had the good looks and he's a pretty boy, but he could scrap, he could fight. And the whole segment is basically based on Canelo, and talking about some of his fights could have went either way, but the cards are stacked in his favor because he's the golden boy, he's the cash cow, and the A side. Now, that in itself, I really have a problem with, because this is what I've noticed with a lot of analysts or old media particularly. It's like almost like they're celebrating things that happen in boxing that may happen, but they're saying it like, just get used to it, this is the norm. Like, that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be a matter of, if the fight's close, it just goes to the cash cow. It should be of a 12-round championship fight. You look at who honestly won it, who won more rounds. You don't just edge rounds to somebody because they're A side. And that's kind of what's being condoned here. But that's not even the reason for this video. The reason for this video is, as you guys heard, Max Kellerman made a comparison, and I don't know if he's coming up with this or a teleprompter, someone's writing a script or whatever, but he compared Canelo Alvarez to James Toney. And James Toney happens to be one of my favorite fighters. And it's just, old media knows no boundaries. And the crazy thing is, Max Kellerman particularly, coming up in the game, I was like, oh man, this guy knows his stuff. He's always on point, always on the money. Like, I remember even back when he was with HBO Boxing, Nonito Donaire was kind of ducking Guillermo Rigondeaux, and everyone was building up for that fight. And boxing fanatics like myself wanted to see it. Donaire's big with speed, power. Rigondeaux's small, but he has accuracy, speed, Cuban schooling. And Max Kellerman was one of the people who stood up for boxing in that regard and was like, yo, he got to fight this guy, and we've seen him do that. But I really feel like post Mayweather Pacquiao, somewhere around there, I've just slowly but surely started to disagree with a lot. It's like somebody brainwashed him, or the company telling him what to say or whatever, because this really doesn't feel like the Max Kellerman that I used to fuck with and listen to his commentary and typically enjoy. It seems like more like a product. It's almost like an app, like let's say Instagram or something, and Instagram is your favorite app, and then they get bought out by Facebook, and then the app starts changing because you have new directives. Or a job, you go to work and you enjoy your job, and then they get a new store manager. The old store manager leaves and they run it completely different. That's what it's almost like dealing with when it comes to Max Kellerman. I remember Max Kellerman, because HBO, they used to have, before they went out of the boxing business, they used to have all the big fights, and everybody else couldn't hold a candle to the HBO boxing fights. But over the years, for obvious reasons, that changed. And Max Kellerman, along with Roy Jones, I would say I still like Roy Jones's commentary, but out of the other guys, rest in peace to Harold Letterman, but out of the other guys, I would tend to agree with, if it wasn't Roy, I would see more points that Max Kellerman was making. But I don't know what's happened. Like I said, I don't know if he's become a company man or if there's a directive to push like propaganda. But to compare Canelo to James Toney, it's like old media is getting out of hand, and I just want you guys to see it. I want you guys to see it, feel it, and believe it. The thing that I'm noticing is they are trying so hard to make modern day fighters and compare them to the great fighters of yesteryear. But the yesteryear fighters, in their heyday were doing different things, had different styles of training, had different careers. And they're trying so desperately, instead of just saying Canelo's a good fighter, the man's skilled, good boxer, puncher, they keep comparing him to retired fighters and legends and stuff like that. Canelo fights nothing, I repeat, nothing like James Toney. Like, those words shouldn't even come out of anybody who's a boxing expert's mouth, because they don't fight anything alike, and we'll get to a little bit of that. And the only people who are going to be mad with this is old media, racists, bigots, or people who just don't want to hear the truth. But like I said, I like Canelo. I think he gets scrapped. I do think people want him to be the next Floyd Mayweather, and he's simply not on that level. He's a good fighter, very good fighter, elite fighter. If you have him on the pound for pound list somewhere, I have no problem with that. But truth is, he's not pulling the trigger and showing the type of separation that puts you in the class of prime Floyd Mayweather, prime Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao would knock guys out and or David Diaz them, and or fight a bigger guy like Antonio Margarito. That's an anomaly fighter. Canelo is very good. Floyd Mayweather would take a Gotti, someone who was naturally bigger than him, and destroy him. Rest in peace to Gotti. Beat Diego Corrales in the fashion he did, 4 knockdowns, when he was allegedly going to get destroyed by Chico Corrales. Rest in peace. Different levels. Canelo is having fights where, there's weight stipulations and rehydration clauses and stuff like that. And it makes you wonder, like, let's say Danny Jacobs. The Danny Jacobs fight was close. Max Kellerman even said that. And it's funny because when I said my video post-fight and did a live stream about Canelo Jacobs, people were saying, oh, you thought this was close. You're horrible. I don't know if people were drunk or just playing sides or race. I don't know. But now you hear a lot of people saying that it was close. So now that we have that understood that it was a close fight, imagine, what if there are no rehydration clause? Now, I know that Jacobs didn't abide by that, but what if some of the fights there was no rehydration stipulation at all? It kind of makes you wonder, like, what if Julio Cesar, if you could fight Rocky Fielding at 168, why not fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at 168? You get what I'm saying? Because he has to kill himself to make weight. So it's different than the past fighters. There's always been the A-side thing, Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Haglers and all that. There's always been an element of that. But now it's like, it's getting like tedious. It's like little rehydration clause the same day, but only for certain people. Like I said, Canelo's not going to put Amir Khan on a rehydration clause same day because he doesn't fear Amir Khan's punching power, nor does he think Amir Khan moving up from 47 to 155 will outweigh him. But he knows Jacobs probably will. He knows Rocky Fielding probably will. He knows Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. probably will, right? And, back to what Max Kellerman is saying. He's comparing Canelo to James Toney, which is absolutely absurd. Let these fighters earn it. Let them be great. Let them do whatever's in store for their career. But to hear a boxing expert like Max Kellerman make these accusations, it's just, some of the statements he's saying just sound ridiculous. He says Kawhi Leonard is more clutch than Kobe Bryant, for the basketball fans, which is a ridiculous statement and a disrespect to the Black Mamba, right? He said that he believes Mayweather pretty easily beat Pacquiao and Mayweather won the fight, but he still ranked Pacquiao as a better fighter than Mayweather. Like, just this stuff it sounds foolish. Canelo fights nothing like James Toney. And here, let's talk about James Toney, one of my favorite fighters. James Toney started off at middleweight. He didn't even have an amateur pedigree. And see, the reason why it bothers me so much that stuff like this is said and stated is for the simple fact of you have impressionable fans who run around and say this dumb shit based on what they're hearing from big boxes, and then you leave it to new media. And I'm trying to really school fans if they may or may not know about some of the pertinent fighters from the past. And you know, I find it offensive, right? And I notice they almost always these big boxes compare non-black modern day fighters to the greatest black fighters. I just noticed that pattern. They say Lomachenko, he's greater than Muhammad Ali or better than Muhammad Ali. You know, they say Triple G, he's the next Mike Tyson, right? They say Canelo is now, I guess, skill set of James Toney. Why is it always being compared to black fighters? Lomachenko is from the Ukraine. Why don't they say he's the next Klitschko? You know what I'm saying? Why don't they say Triple G's the next, you know, whoever great fighter from Kazakhstan, or he's another Kovalev, or, you know, something else, another good fighter. It's like they always compare to historic black fighters from what I've seen, these big boxes. And beyond that is the problem with that is when a lot of these black fighters are actively fighting, they don't get their propers. Lennox Lewis, Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson, you know, Muhammad Ali was hated by some at the time. They said he was a coward and dodging the draft, things like that. But after it's all said and done, some people, you know, generations pass and stuff, and they're no longer a threat to any active fighters because they're either deceased or not fighting anymore. And then now people want to praise them. You know, it's funny how that works. But back to Canelo and James Toney, they fight nothing alike. James Toney he wasn't even in crazy shape and moved from middleweight to heavyweight. I repeat, started with middleweight and ended at heavyweight, right? Keep in mind, James Toney didn't even have that great of an amateur fight. If I'm not mistaken, he had less than probably like 40 something fights as an amateur. Naturally gifted. His reflexes were second to none. In fact, in my honest opinion, when it comes to the Philly shell on the shoulder roll, I think James Toney is more natural than Floyd Mayweather at it. Floyd comes from a fight family. You know, his uncles and his dad and whatnot are boxing, so he was kind of cultivated in the sport. With James Toney, he's a freak. He's naturally gifted. You know, he's naturally gifted, and it just seems like something he didn't really have to rehearse and go through repetition. It just looked effortless. And I would say James Toney's Philly shell shoulder roll or whatnot was so fluid, transitioning from defense to offense. You get what I'm saying? Mayweather will counter, but James Toney will, from the shell, let his hands go. Look at some of his great fights with Evander Holyfield and John Ruiz. But speaking of that, this man moved from middleweight to heavyweight. Canelo, I think he's in his third weight class. Let's see if he can get anywhere close to heavyweight with his skill set. We know that wouldn't be a problem. De La Hoya is talking about Canelo fighting Kovalev and Andre Ward. Those are clout chases to me, because Bivol said he'll drop down from 75 to 168, and you never hear De La Hoya even mention Bivol, but he's mentioning Kovalev. You know, Bivol actually has the same amount of steam, if not greater, because he's also a champion, and he said he'll move down to 168. Kovalev, you know, took a couple of L's, 3 L's and 2 by stoppage, but they mentioned Kovalev's name, and that's not even an easy fight for Canelo either, based on the size and height difference. You know, and then miss me with the Andre Ward Canelo. So it just seems like one big clout chase, and people like Max Kellerman are helping to further that. You get what I'm saying? Canelo is good. Canelo has skills, but he doesn't fight like anything like James Toney. Like I said, let's see if he could go up and stop a John Ruiz or Evander Holyfield type of guy. Holyfield had a chin at heavyweight. Mike Tyson didn't even stop Holyfield. What are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson, I'm thoracic. I want to eat his heart. You know, he didn't even stop Holyfield in 2 chances. And James Toney, lights out Toney, stopped Holyfield. And then we're really even comparing Canelo. But I just want to let you know the difference between new media and old media. We're trying to grow the sport, educate, things like that. And I don't know what's gotten into Max Kellerman, but I feel like he's off the mark on a lot of the stuff he's been saying recently, you know, for the past couple of years, actually. You know, even in basketball, he's talking about Kawhi Leonard's more. It's like, who's feeding you these lines? Kawhi Leonard is good, you know, but he's not Kobe. He hasn't proven that. And the reason why, like I said, it's a disrespect for the people who are up and coming. And I feel like a person like Max Kellerman knows the sport and he should know better. So I really feel like it's not even a genuine statement. Like somebody wrote that for you or something. It's like the movie Get Out or something. So that's just my standpoint. I had to talk about it, but I see no similarities to Canelo. Canelo needs to sort out his stamina and fatigue issues and put on a masterclass performance. Like I said, James Toney fought Roy Jones Jr. James Toney stopped Evander Holyfield. Okay, so who has Canelo stopped that had a chin at heavyweight and they started off as a middleweight? So, you know, somebody who was naturally probably bigger than you, because Holyfield was an Olympian, you know, fought at cruiserweight and then heavyweight. Who is Canelo stopped in that regard? And please don't say Amir Khan. So that's why I don't want to see these comparisons. They need to stop with all these comparisons. Triple G and Tyson, and Triple G, Marvin Hagler, you know, Lomachenko and Muhammad Ali. Like, stop. Canelo, James Toney. And like I said, why they keep only comparing them to black fighter? Why don't they compare Triple G to Tommy Morrison or something? It's like you comparing them to Marvin Hagler, Bernard Hopkins, and Mike Tyson. Like, I just don't, I'm not understanding it. You get what I'm saying? This man, James Toney, ain't been stopped. Ain't been stopped. And I know Canelo hasn't been stopped, but I mean, he has wins over like people like Fres Oquendo. That's an actual heavyweight who's still ranked to this day. You know, he fought Samuel Peter, who has power. Fought Hassan Rahman to a draw. What are we talking about? What are we really talking about? Stopped Evander Holyfield. Things like that. Fought Roy Jones. Beat Mike McCallum, the body snatcher. You know, and Max Kellerman just like arbitrarily throwing out these comparisons. It's like I said, it's laughable. So I feel like we should get boxing back to its rightful place. Let's just talk about Canelo Jacobs, Canelo, what he's doing. You know, stop making these comparisons. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.